CLNS Media Patriots Roundtable. I'm your host, Nick Qualis. I'm here with Marv and with Mike Molyneux. And, guys, it's tough. On the national stage, Patriots got their asses whooped by the Buffalo Bills. Bad. It was bad all the way around. 38-9. And right now I'm saying I think it's safe to say the Bills are going to be kings of the AFC East for a little while because we don't know what Tua is. The Jets are the Jets. The Jets, who knows what the Jets are doing. And the Patriots don't really have a quarterback long term. So I think it's safe to say that the Bills are taking over the AFC East. At the moment, they're a really good team, really good coach, excellent quarterback and receiver. Stephon Diggs, guys. Oh my goodness. I remember and I apologize at the start of the season to Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs because I had no faith in Josh Allen. I kept saying, I don't care that you got Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen has to get that accuracy right, and he actually has to hit Stephon Diggs in order for that combo to work. And he's done just that. They looked damn good last night. He absolutely torched you. It also kind of showed how much you need Stephon Gilmore. Put Gilmore on Diggs, might have helped a little bit. But anyway, things aren't looking good. There's a lot of things this team needs to fix right now. And it's a word we've been avoiding since Tom Brady left. Rebuild. Guys, are the Patriots entering a rebuild? And if so, how many years are we going to have to watch this? How many years is this rebuild going to last? Mike, let's start with you. What do you think?
A word that we've definitely avoided throughout this season is rebuild for sure.
I don't know if we've said it once.
I don't know. I can't recall us ever having a conversation about rebuild or the Patriots rebuilding. But, you know, the word makes sense because, you know, Patriots are clearly in a new era. And usually sometimes, especially in sports, when a team is entering a new era, sometimes it's because a rebuild is taking place. The only reason why I won't associate the word rebuild with the New England Patriots is all because Bill Belichick is still the head coach of this football team.
But Bill Belichick, the GM, is the GM.
That is true. And he's been the GM for many years now, just like he's been the coach for many years now. And whether, you know, we can bash him for his skills at the general manager position and the moves he's made and transactions and the draft picks for sure. Oh, we can harp on the draft picks for sure. The fact still remains that this has been one of the most successful teams in not only football, but we're talking about in all of team sports. The Patriots have been one of the most successful teams ever. And a lot of that is due to the fact that Bill Belichick has been with this organization. And yes, people say, well, hey, they had the greatest quarterback of all time, and he's been the reason why they've had a lot of success. I get that.
And apparently it was a big help.
And in some instances, I do agree. The fact that you had Tom Brady helped out a lot. But at the same time, the team has to be coached. Tom Brady's out there throwing the football, making great plays and whatnot, but the team has to be coached. And they have to build a culture. And Belichick has helped set up a lot of that, the majority of that throughout the years. And I do believe that, you know, when teams usually go through rebuilds, you know, they're bringing in a bunch of new young players. Sometimes they get a new coach and they're going a whole shift of culture and personnel and whatnot. Patriots aren't really going through that. Yes, Brady's gone. But other than that, the culture is still in place. You know, the coaching staff that's led to a lot of the team's success over the years is still in place. It's just the fact that they need the right players in the system. Players have come and gone throughout the years. Brady's been consistent, yeah, we know that. But other than that, after Belichick and after Brady, different players have come and gone through this organization. All the way from when they first won the Super Bowl in 2001, we're talking all the way up to 2018 when they got their last one. Different players have come and gone. And throughout those years, like I said, they've continued to find success no matter what new running backs they have or what new cornerbacks they have or linebackers or what. They've continued to be one of the best teams in football. So with that all being said, I can't call it a rebuild when Belichick's still the head coach. What I'm saying is, yes, the GM, Belichick, needs to do a better job in bringing the right players onto this team, so that the culture and everything they've built over the years that's been well established can be executed with better talent. And I think that they'll be right back on the path of being one of the better football teams in the AFC East. I don't think, there's nothing dramatic that needs to necessarily take place. Once you have Belichick, and obviously you need talented, because talent will get you wins, and talent will lead to success. That's all this team needs. Not a rebuild. Just go out and acquire talent to help this team get back to where they're capable of being, is one of the better teams in the NFL.
Well, see, I think it is a rebuild, because I think you need you keep saying talent. You have to draft that talent. I mean, let's be honest, they're not going to sign too many free agents. Like, this isn't the MLB where you just go out and grab a bunch of free agents, or you make a bunch of blockbuster trades. This team has to draft, and as we've seen over X amount of years now, Bill has not really been that hot when it comes to the offense. I mean, Sony Michel played out of his mind last night. It was the best I've seen Sony Michel look in a long time. I don't know. Maybe he watched the show and he heard us talking about him. But he looked really good last night. But overall, offensively, he just hasn't drafted well. And, I mean, first name that comes to mind, everybody's talked about him all season long, is N'Keal Harry. Like, you need to find a receiver who is going to take that leap and be one of your main guys. And Jacoby Myers is very good. And I think he's the only guy guaranteed, unless Julian Edelman wants to come back. But Jacoby Myers, I think, is the only receiver guaranteed to come back and have his spot next season. I think you have to draft well over these next couple of years. I think you are in a rebuild because you just don't have those guys, especially for the long term, and especially at the quarterback position. You might be in a rebuild until you find that next quarterback. And I personally think they should draft it this year. This is the highest they've been in the draft in a while with their own position. But I think you have to draft this year, and I think draft a quarterback this year, and I think you will be in a rebuild until you find that guy and until you really start building an established receiving core. Marv, what do you think? Is this a rebuild, yes or no, and how many years are we going to be watching this rebuild?
Yeah, Nick, you pretty much took my answer right there, man. It's a rebuild until you get a quarterback. Until you get a quarterback, you are in complete rebuild mode.
Right, and not a bridge quarterback. A franchise.
And you look at the NFL and you look at teams who are, just in the cusp of looking at where they can be. Until they get a quarterback, you're not really looking at them as contenders. You can surround all the talent in the world. We saw the Chicago Bears several years, but when they had the Khalil Mack almost being Defensive Player of the Year, they were amazing. They didn't have that quarterback. We saw it with the Minnesota Vikings. Great defense when they had Case Keenum as their quarterback. Great team. They didn't have that quarterback. So it doesn't matter what team you build around until you have that quarterback, and then you branch out. So the Patriots are in a rebuild mode. If we want to call it retool, because you still got Belichick in there, like Mike mentioned, the culture has been established. You have all these Patriot players, veteran players that still come back to the team, are now even coaching on the team. So that culture is established and will be there for the New England Patriots for a very long time, even preceding Bill Belichick, I believe, just of how the foundation that they already set up. However, talent is the key, and quarterback is key. So I'm thinking maybe you're in a rebuild mode for maybe 3 years. 3 years until you can really find that quarterback that you say, okay, this is our franchise quarterback. Every single year, at this point, you might have to draft or trade for a quarterback every year until you find that right piece. Till you find that perfect quarterback. And Patriot fans, everyone needs to understand that right now there's not a quarterback, and the Patriots just got to keep testing things out. It's unfortunate that, after week 11, week 12, week 13, you saw that Cam Newton wasn't that guy, that we didn't get to see enough of Jarrett Stidham and, start games and see what he can do about it. So maybe he's just not good enough or whatnot, but we need to start seeing, these young quarterbacks or whoever they bring in really have a shot here and try to take the realm of the Patriots.
Right, and just because you draft a guy doesn't mean that he's going to work out immediately. Like, you might draft your guy, and he might take a year or two to actually look good. I mean, a perfect example is Josh Allen. He got drafted in 2018, and this is the first year where you're like, okay, this guy is legit. You don't always get lucky when you get a guy like the Chargers do with Justin Herbert. Like, Herbert looks like he's already ready to go, and he looks like he's an NFL quarterback. But again, Josh Allen, for example, did not look like that guy. So the Patriots could draft somebody this year, and he might not be ready for another 2-3 seasons. So yeah, I mean, Marv, your timeline of 3 years might be correct. And on top of that, you have to draft a good receiver too. You just do. You don't have anybody who's looking to be that next top guy. And until you do that, the NFL is a passing league. You're just not going to win the Super Bowl as just I mean, I know the Patriots kind of pushed against that with Sony Michel 2 years ago, but when Sony Michel had that awesome season, or playoff run rather. But you have to draft a good receiver. You have to draft your next quarterback, or at least find your next quarterback long term. And until that happens, you're going to be in a rebuild. I think it was.
Look at Miami, for example. They're still currently in a rebuild, right? They think they might have their quarterback for the future. They obviously have their bridge quarterback in Fitzpatrick. They might have their quarterback in future too. We're not sure yet because it's pretty awkward over there. Sometimes Tua is playing, sometimes Tua is not. But they're still rebuilding. They're forming the pieces. And Tua might not be that franchise quarterback, but they're testing it out. And they might bring in another quarterback next year to really just see who's going to take that franchise on.
Right, and I really hope Bill didn't think that he was going to be able to out-coach not having a quarterback, if that makes sense. Because the quarterback it's the most important position in sports. It just is. At least in American sports, it's the most important position in sports. So I really hope Bill didn't think that he was going to be able to take a guy like he did with Matt Castle the year Tom got hurt and turn this into an 11-5 team, especially when you don't have the talent.
He definitely did. He didn't draft a quarterback. Jarrett Stidham was going to be our quarterback if Cam Newton didn't work out. Like we were lucky that no other team picked up Cam Newton. Jarrett Stidham was going to be this quarterback. You didn't draft a quarterback. It was all ego. Belichick said, hey, I can take any quarterback in the system that I have set in place and be successful. And it showed here in 2020 that that's not the case.
Yeah, well, I think he figured that out, that's not the case when he threw that phone last night against the Bills. He was like, damn, I need a quarterback. This is not good. All right, CLNS Media, Patriots Roundtable. Nick Quaglia, Marv's on, Mike Mono. Guys, we're going to be back next week after the Patriots season finale against the Jets, which, I mean, guys, at this point, that's not a guaranteed win. So we could be coming back here after another Patriots loss. And who knows, who knows what the Jets are going to do at draft time. Maybe you're seeing a future Patriots quarterback in Sam Darnold.
Oh, thanks.
Who knows? Hey, I would take Sam Darnold. That's a conversation we can have on a different show. I would for sure take Sam Darnold. But again, we'll talk about that on a different show. Nick Quaglia. I mean, anybody other than Dwayne Haskins. Anybody. Well, maybe not anybody. Nick Quaglia, Marv's on, Mike Mono. Guys, we're going to be back next week with another set of episodes. We will talk to you then. Thanks for watching, and thanks for listening.